back to another episode of the Folding Towels podcast with Jackie and David. We are joined today by a special guest. We're really excited, aren't we, Jackie?
We are fangirling heavily over here.
We're joined today by Stuart Hinds. Welcome, Stu.
Yes.
Yay!
Thank you very much, David and Jackie. Wonderful to be here. I've been following your podcast, so yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled to be a part of it. It's going to be good.
Great to have you here. Stuart Hinds has 32 years of clinical experience. That's at least 6 times longer than the average life of a massage therapist. You've been to 4 Olympic Games and a Commonwealth Games as a soft tissue therapist. You present workshops nationally and worldwide, and you have a particular passion around self-care, which probably explains why you've been around for so long.
Yes, it definitely is a passion of mine. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. That message just doesn't get out hard enough or wide enough as far as I'm concerned. The average length of time or career for a massage therapist is very, very short, to be honest, especially if they're working full time.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah. And, I remember when I was delving through putting the self-care course together, it was, there's not a huge amount of research out there about it, but the little information that was out there was that, most massage therapists will probably work on a part-time situation. But those that do work in a full-time situation don't have a long career. Yeah. And primarily out of physical and mental burnout. Yeah. No surprise. Yeah. What's gone wrong there? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a physical job, but but surely we can be doing better in the clinic for ourselves. And I think one of the main issues is with therapists is that they're just so eager to please their clients at the expense of their own health.
It is an industry of people pleasers.
Yeah, and that's why that's why they get into it, because they are of that nature. If they're not, it's a pretty hard job. If you're not a bit of a people pleaser, if you're a taker and not a giver, then you'd be like, geez, I'm getting sick of giving, when do I get to take, sort of thing. So, and ultimately, yeah, you're structured in a way that you want to help people, and there's no other, I suppose, intimate way in terms of helping people than actually touching them and massage them. But it's unfortunately the peril is, it's physical. It's physical. It is taxing on us. So yeah, we've got to be doing things better.
Well, my earliest memory of you, Stu, I was a fairly recent graduate, and I was doing a bit of running at the time, and I got runner's knee. So I was doing a bit of searching for some self-help stuff, and I came across a resource on runner's knee through the Neil Asher Technique website, and you were the author. And this bloke from Geelong, of all places, and I'd never heard of you at that point. And so I think you, at that point, were one of the world's best kept secrets. And I'm really pleased to see that over the last couple of years, and this is where COVID has been a real blessing, is that you do now have a lot of visibility through your academy, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the episode.
Yep.
So listeners, spoiler alert, jump into the show notes, follow the link into the Stuart Hinds Academy. It's a low-cost, high-value resource where you can learn and grow as a therapist.
Thank you for the plug, David.
The check's in the mail, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Lifetime membership free, mate, for you. Yes. Oh, look, yeah, I mean, obviously, the teaming up with Neil Asher was great, gave us some exposure. I mean, I was lucky enough to co-present with Simeon Neil Asher, primarily because I was treating frozen shoulder and you've done the frozen shoulder workshop and the story, but I mean, I was inundated with people wanting me to treat frozen shoulder, and obviously knowing that the technique works, but there just wasn't enough therapists out there treating it or using the technique. So I decided to bring him out, and then obviously I had my hip protocol, and we sort of it was Sydney. Sorry, I was just trying to think of the venue. Yeah, we made it in Sydney. Primarily it was sort of in between Queensland and Victoria. But we just thought the draw card would be probably good in Sydney, and that's how it's all started with Neil Asher. And then they really didn't have anyone. I mean, Simeon's great, he's an osteopath, but he really hasn't done any work with runners or active people. So that's where I sort of came on board with my sort of sporting background, knowledge of soft tissue stuff. So boom, that's how it started. But it started a long time before that. I mean, I had an online platform. It'd be over 12 years now. Do you know what I mean? But if we jettison back to 12 years, it was, people weren't doing much online, to be honest. It was like it's a great idea, but not everyone was utilizing online resources back then. It was still very much face to face. And it's only
Yeah.
really been the last sort of 6 years, I think, where online learning has really become more popular. Um, and don't get me wrong, I mean, there's no substitute to face learning as far as I'm concerned, but the online world is it's definitely there's definitely advantages to it for sure.
One of your big, hopefully big courses that you have is called the Self-Care Therapist, which I have not partaken of yet. I apologize.
Shame on you, Jackie.
I know.
Seriously, shame on you. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Well, I was going to say, I actually listened to on your podcast the episode with Jeff Shearer, I think it is.
Yeah, yep.
And
Jeff Shearer.
you talk about some of that with him. And I found that entire episode because you talk about a whole range of stuff, but a lot of stuff that happens when you're a new therapist and looking after yourself and how you can actually treat your clients, not even from a clinical perspective, but actually as a human being. And I absolutely loved that episode. And I only listened to it this week. So that's really that's just sitting with me right now. And you do talk about how important it is for us as therapists to really look after ourselves. So I know that's something really huge for you that you're very
Yeah.
passionate about.
Yeah, no, I really am. And look, do yourself a favor, get Jeff on as a guest because he is an absolute cracking bloke. He's got a
Mm,
wealth of knowledge, and his ethical morals are sensational. They align with mine, so that's why I get on so well with him. And he was a massage therapist back in the day, and did ruin himself, and that's how he got into acupuncture because he just found massage just too taxing on his body.
mm,
And yeah, we did talk about a lot of things on that. A lot of them obviously to do with clinic and the way we run our clinics, but also self-care. But I mean, look, I lectured at Vic Uni for close to 20 years. I remember when I first came on board, they didn't actually have a remedial massage course in place when they hired me. So I had to write the curriculum, which was bloody fun. And obviously it evolved over the years. But one of the things that was so important was that, well, that wasn't in the curriculum that should have been in the curriculum, and I tried and tried and tried, was making sure that we equip therapists with the right tools and understanding for when they do get out into clinic, because you're literally thrown to the wolves once you go out to
mm.
clinic. I mean, you guys both experience it yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And unless you've had access to a good mentor or whatever the case be, someone's interjected and said, hey, hang on a minute, this is probably not a great idea to go down this road and do these things. That's what I started to see. And then, starting the online platform and bits and pieces and starting to get, a bit of a following, people were contacting me behind the scenes. And a lot of the times the contact was about their injuries and obviously the fact that they felt like they were getting burnt out mentally and it was overwhelming. And I was like thinking back to myself, from Vic Uni days, like my classes were all about teaching safe, sustainable techniques. And and unfortunately back then too, there was some of the workplaces therapists were going to, and they didn't even have access to height adjustable tables, which is, mind-boggling now to think about. And the hours that they were doing. And I remember working at Geelong Football Club. We didn't have adjustable tables there. So occupational health and safety changed all that, which was great. But self-care is so neglected by every therapist, regardless of what part of your career. I wrote the course primarily for newbies, obviously recently graduated, or anyone within that sort of
Yep.
first 5 years, because that's when you build your bad habits. And and I made it multifactorial. There were actually other courses. There were books out there on self-care for therapists, but as far as I was concerned, they were just missing. They were missing the crucial parts that were so important. Like things. How do you gauge and how do you manipulate your workload ratios? Because you go from massaging 6 people, a week to 6 people a day is massive. Like that just blows. And you can sustain it for a little while, but eventually it catches up with you. We could bang on about unsafe, unsustainable techniques, which is probably the big one for most therapists,
Mm.
not utilizing their tools, overworking areas, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got mental fatigue, and then understanding the injuries that you're equipped for, your own fitness as a therapist. Are you actually fit enough to do this job? And if you're not, what things can you do to be fit for the job as well? And so, there's a myriad of things in that self-care course that, as far as I'm concerned, should be compulsory, at a TAFE or uni level for them coming out. But the funny thing was, it evolved more than that, because I was having people who were contacting me who'd been in massage for 15 years and saying, I am in shit town at the moment. Like I'm literally going from day to day, dealing with injuries, dealing with this, and I said, well, obviously I push them towards the self-care, and they said, they'll watch it or read the material, and they go, I can't believe that I'd never known that sort of stuff. But most of it's common sense too. It's of all the courses that I have, that I do, it's the one I'm most passionate about by a mile. Like by a mile, because I see it all the time. Like, all the workshops I've done, I'll be talking to therapists in the break, and, the first thing they'll be talking about is injuries, and,
Yeah.
and how they're struggling, mentally or physically, or most probably both. And, and I don't know, I don't know if there's a bit of shame connected to it, because it's not out there in the open. They sort of, oh, look, Stu, I just want to have a bit of a chat with you. I'm having a bit of a problem with my hand and my thumb or my wrist. And, I don't really want anyone else to know. But, the thing is, probably the whole class is probably struggling with something.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't know why that shame's there, because, it's a physical job. And, you have to be attentive to your load, what you're doing for your clients. And, as I mentioned to you beforehand, therapists are shit house at looking after themselves. They'll go above and beyond for their clients, but when it comes to them, it's like, I honestly don't understand it. And it's only when they get to that point where they're in peril or in
Yeah.
pain, and then they're like, well, what do I do now? And unfortunately, sometimes it's too late too. So,
Yeah.
I've lost a lot of colleagues over the years to it, who have just, buried themselves.
Yeah. It's so common, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And,
Yeah.
the other thing is, I've been through it myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I got injuries myself too early on. I was really lucky, because I worked with two physios who were very hands-on, very manual therapy related,
Mm.
which is not the case now. And, if it wasn't for them, they started to show me some of those things, because they'd obviously been through it themselves. Say you're working too hard, you're not having rests, the techniques you're using are not probably great, da 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 da, and it sort of
Yeah.
went. And, I was lucky enough to work through those. I was lucky enough to get treatment, recognize them, and know, like, well, if I'm going to have a long career in this, and I love this career, like I'm passionate about it, I've got to do this better. I've got to just
Mm.
do this better. There's just, otherwise you're just not going to be there. And for me, I was obviously in it in a full-time capacity as well. So yeah.
There seem to be a few gauges, excuse me, that we measure ourselves against, like these areas of pride. And we've just had our episode on being booked out 5 weeks in advance. That seems to be one of the things that therapists like to talk about. Is, oh, I'm booked out 4 weeks in advance, or 6 weeks in advance, or what have you. Have you booked your holidays in there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Correct.
that would be my point of bragging. And then it's like, oh, I see 25 people a week. That seems to be the benchmark of if you're a good therapist. Is you do 25 a week and 100 in a month and 1,200 massages in a year. And then it's the earning. Are you earning six figures yet? Is in business turnover, not personal salary. Are you earning
Mm.
six figures? And if you're not hitting these benchmarks, then kind of get judged by the industry as you're probably not doing so well.
Yeah, that shits me to tears, Dave. Those perceptions are, and that's where it starts too. Do you know what I mean? Because, I mean, human nature is that we covet what we see and what we hear. And when we hear those things, we think, well, that's the expectation. They're the benchmarks I need to be working towards. But that's not necessarily going to be the case for everyone. Do you know what I mean? We're all different. I don't expect you to be like me and have the workload I do, and vice versa, Jack,
Mm.
and anyone else that I see in workshops or in lectures and so forth. And those perceptions shit me. They really do. Like they really do. I'm not booked out 6 weeks in advance. You can probably, you know, 2 weeks, but then again, my clientele is different. My clientele filter through, because I'm more injury based. So I'm getting them through situations and then basically then they're out the door. I might see them 4 or 5 times once a week and then they're sort of out the door. Do you know what I mean? If I'm not getting resolution or change, whatever, and then I might see them in a month sort of thing. So, but I get a lot of acute cases with athletes and so forth. So I can't afford to be booked out like
Mm.
6 weeks in advance. If I've got, pole vaulter assist you, I've done my groin, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, I can't see you for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. Not with the
Yeah.
clientele that I have.
The first time you see them, they're now in the chronic phase.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, it's fixed now, Stu. It's healed, But, and then so, I remember my GP took me aside and said, Stu, just book out a really long lunch every day. And they're like your emergency spots that you never book into. And that's how I've managed not to be booked out. That would horrify me to be booked 6 weeks in advance. Like seriously, and I've been like I'm never not busy either. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, I'd hate to be booked out 6 weeks because I get itsy if it goes out to two. And I know I've got client, and I know I'll get Monday morning. I'll walk in and I'll know there'll be like 6 messages there, and I'm like, shit, right, where am I going to fit them, right? And where's going to be the priority for them, depending on where they're at and what they're doing. So yeah, and those being booked out 6 weeks in advance, it's like, well, do you then start extending your hours to fit people in, and that's how
Mm.
your workload ratios start to blow out.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, well, I'll fit them in. I'll just do another one at the end of the day, or I'll come in early, or da 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 da. So all of a sudden, those little increases of your acute and chronic workload blow out,
Mm.
and that's the perfect area for injury and problems. Yeah.
Mm. Guilty as charged.
Oh, we're all, Dave. I mean, we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But unless you're not aware of it and you start doing it on a regular basis, that's
Mm.
when it's a problem. Yeah.
Mm. We'll come back to self-care in a minute, actually.
Okay. I mean, I literally could talk like, yeah, you get me started, I'm on.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you some important questions from your followers. So we popped a question into one of the Facebook groups just to say if you could ask Stu just one question, what would it be? And the first question, I know it's not a surprise to you, but it was kind of a surprise to me, and particularly in context, because you are a fan of the lower limb, but you are passionate about giraffes, and
Mm,
they're all neck.
yeah, man, I
What's the
love
story there?
giraffes.
They have legs as well, David. Come
They
on.
do. They can
Yeah,
have four of them,
yeah,
and
they've
they are
got,
bloody
and
long.
they're bloody long legs too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, I mean, obviously I get asked that every day in clinic because if you come into my clinic, it's the eyelashes are fantastic. No, it's their tongue, mate. No. To be brutally honest, I remember just going to the zoo one day and I remember my mum telling me this. My mum passed away 26 years ago, but she explains my love for giraffes. And we went and saw the hippopotamus and the elephant and da da da. And then we got to the giraffe enclosure, and I think I was around about, I don't know, five, whatever. And apparently I just stood there and I had my hands on my hips and I've just gone, oh my God, what have we got here? And and apparently I was just riveted. You know what I mean? And mum's like, okay, come on, we've got to go. And apparently I was just refused to go. I was just captivated by these giraffes. I don't know. I just find them majestic, man. They're just beautiful. They're elegant. They're gentle. Yeah, you never hear anything bad about a giraffe, man. Like seriously, and they're just majestic, and if you watch any of the wildlife docos, they're always got a giraffe in there. I mean, I know they might have an elephant and a lion and all that sort of stuff, but giraffes just no one bothers a giraffe. Honestly, they don't really have that many, or really don't have predators either, unless they're sick and injured. They can defend themselves beautifully because they're so big and so forth. But I don't know, man. They're just majestic and they've always captivated me.
Love it.
Now, something that we ask all of our guests, who is your favorite superhero and why?
Oh, Batman. Man, I was obsessed with Batman.
Let's get detail. Which one, Batman?
Christian Bale.
Yeah?
Good
Yeah,
job. Good
yeah,
job.
definitely. He was the best. I mean, has anyone ever said Michael Keaton? I mean, shoot me now.
Come on, George
Um,
Clooney.
or George Clooney. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't mind Ben Affleck. Like, I thought he was okay, but Christian Bale, I think it was just because it was edgy. That
Mm,
Batman series was,
It's really dark.
dark,
very dark.
correct. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Heath Ledger as well. I
Oh,
mean,
Bless his soul.
absolutely. Yeah,
he
yeah.
made that movie.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great film, like
Yeah.
seriously. But like seriously, Batman, man. And there was a time, and obviously I was obsessed with giraffes, but kindergarten years, I would dress up. I had a Batman suit, and my mum could not get it off me. She used to send me to kinder with it on because she literally couldn't get it off me. And the kids didn't know what I looked like for about 2 years because I just had this Batman costume on. Man, I thought I was Batman. Oh God, I loved Batman. That's a Batman, mate.
It's the gadgets, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. The gadgets and it's got a cool outfit too, man. It's awesome.
Kind of lives in a bit of a castle. He's at the
Yeah.
Batcave.
And
It's got a
look,
cool waterfall as well.
absolutely. And back in the day, I'm a giraffe, so awesome, but I was also obsessed with flying foxes too. Yeah, what a strange combo, right? And if you ask me why flying foxes to you, I'll say because of Batman.
Now, you were a fitter and turner and a builder's laborer in your early career.
Hmm.
How did you fall into the profession of massage? What drew you to it, and why he's still 30 years later?
Yeah, well, look, I left school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, like 99.9% of people. And they were offering fitting and turning apprenticeships out at the Ford Motor Company in Geelong. So I had a couple of mates who were doing it, and I thought, and I was doing engineering workshop at school as well. Nothing at uni excited me at all. I was like, no, I'm not going to uni. There's nothing there that excites me at all. I'm not going to get a HECS debt and go down that road unless I was truly passionate about something. So I thought, oh, I'll do a fitting and turning apprenticeship. Which I did, and I think I got to about my second or third year, and I sort of knew, well, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I enjoyed it, and I'll never regret doing it because there was skills that I've learned there that I can utilize today. But yeah, got to the end of my apprenticeship, sort of thought, left forwards because I was working with guys who'd been there for 50 years, and I'm like, I'm not staying here for 50 years. There's a bigger world out there for me. So left, went to the mines for a little while and worked over there before it was fly in, fly out. It wasn't fancy like that back in the day. Went to the Pilbara, spent a bit of time there, then came back to Geelong. And then we had the recession that we had to have thanks Paul Keating, and also there was a local building society that crashed as well. So the Geelong economy was really shit, and I could only get casual work as a fitter at that time. And then I was just jack of it by that stage, and I said, look, I'm going to do something different. And then yeah, I was cycling at the time, and I got a knee injury. And I'd been to a couple of physios and people and just couldn't get on top of it. And someone referred me to a local massage therapist. And I went and saw him, and 2 treatments later, he had me sorted, and I just went, "Fuck, that was awesome."
Mind blown.
Yeah, and I just went, "Wow, he just did that with his hands. That was amazing." And yeah, that started the ball rolling for me. I thought, "Oh, I wonder if I could do something like that." So I started to investigate it. I did back in the day, one of the, introduction adult education sort of, 12 weeks at the local TAFE sort of thing, 2 hours a night, just learning, just to see if I'd like it. And I just loved it. And my interest grew more and more. And then, yeah, I decided to apply to one of the Southern School of Natural Therapies. I sold my car to pay for the first year fees, commuted, and then that was it. And then I worked as a builder's labourer while I was studying. That got me through. So yeah, And I don't know, mate. This light bulb went on and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world that you can touch someone and you can help them heal themselves. And I'm 32 years later, I love it just as much as the day that I started. Yeah.
You've got quite the background in working with athletes, and a lot of therapists out there will be really familiar with rubbing legs at the footy club. But where did your journey take you?
Yeah, it took me. I started really, in terms of when you talk about sport, it was probably cycling where I made my bones, if you like, because I was a cyclist and I loved it. So I just thought I'd marry the two together, and off I went and started working grassroots and moved my way up and started working with AIS programs and international teams and stuff like that, which was great. And then, yeah, from there, and then, you spread your wings in different areas. I worked at the Geelong Footy Club for a bit, which I must admit, first 2 years was a bit monotonous because it was just all recovery. And I thought we weren't utilizing our skills properly. And obviously, there's a journey and a story behind that and to change that. And then, yeah, and it just fostered from there. I was just treating all sorts of triathletes, you name it, that were coming through the door. And obviously your name grows because you're aligning yourself in that area. And before you know it, you're working at Olympics. Do you know what I mean? I remember I got asked to go to Canberra and present at the sports medicine conference up there. And that really started the ball rolling where I sort of got noticed. And yeah, before you know it, I went to Sydney and Athens and yeah, and I just immersed myself in those environments. I couldn't learn enough. I couldn't talk to enough people. I was, some people go to those experiences and just go, right, I'm just going to do my job, keep my head down and go for it. But, I was in there, I was collaborating with the physios going, right, what are you guys doing here? Blah, blah, blah. What's going on with this sport? I haven't worked with badminton before. What do I need to know? And so I'd try and learn as much as I could about the experience I was doing and the athletes that I was working with. And that really pushed me down a whole different road because then I started to see that there was a different side to working with athletes as opposed to just recovery and injury management. So how can I actually achieve a different level of therapy with these athletes? And the best way to do that was to learn as much as I could about their sport and how they trained and what they did and what went into it. So, and then all of a sudden you can start and then watch them move and compete and train. That's the other thing. And you just draw so much information, and all of a sudden you can work out where their loads of, and their restrictions are, and you talk to them about it and what does it feel like when you do this, and then yeah, and then it's a whole other type of therapy once you start going down that road.
It sounds like that might have been a career highlight for you.
Yeah, yeah, they were all the games were career highlights, though, no doubt about it. No, I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, working at Olympic Games it's an amazing experience, like it is. It's mind blowing, but at the same time, Jack, I get just as much out of working in the clinic, working with amateur athletes who still have to work, have families, responsibilities, and accountabilities that elite athletes don't. You've got to understand most elite athletes are pretty equipped to what they do. You know what I mean? It's still hard and it's inspiring, but they're doing all the right things. Whereas amateur athletes, there's so many hurdles in their way to stop them from really reaching their potential. They don't recover well, they don't eat well. They've got kids, they've got work, they've got all these sort of things. So helping them reach their milestones and what they do in their activity or their sports is just as rewarding.
I love my amateur athletes, my weekend warriors. And I admit I get a bit teary when someone comes in and they say, I've started running, and then they do their first 5K, then they do 10,
Yeah.
then they sign up for a
Marathon.
and they do that marathon, and yeah, there's onions in the room when they hit that milestone.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
that's actually a perfect example, Dave. That is a perfect example. Especially if you've got someone who's never really been active before and decided for whatever reason they want to change their life, healthier or whatever, and be active and never ran before, and then they go from A to B, and they've completed a marathon. That's life changing for them. And yes, you're lucky enough to be a part of that journey. You did. You helped. They did the training and the running, but you gave them a helping hand along the way, and yeah, they're very appreciative of that situation.
Mm,
We underestimate what we do sometimes.
yes. Particularly as you
Definitely.
start to work with the older athlete.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yes,
Which
definitely.
isn't also very old.
Now, another question from one of your followers is, what is a barrier that you see therapists place on themselves that doesn't actually exist?
Oh, good question. I'm pretty sure I know who asked that. Uh, look, to be honest, I suppose it's the imposter syndrome. I mean, especially when you first get out there and um, when you finish your studies and then you get thrown out in the clinic. And look, as far as I'm concerned, that's when you first start learning. As much as you learn at TAFE or wherever you learn, it just gives you some underpinning knowledge. You don't really learn until you get out there. And to some degrees, when you are at that stage and you're green and you don't know, you think you should know everything. You think you should come out of that experience knowing everything, but that's just never going to be the case. It's like any job whatsoever. You got someone who's been in marketing for 20 years and someone who's just got out of uni. They're light years apart. So straight away, you get into that sort of, I don't actually think I should be here. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I'm worthy to be treating anyone and charging anyone. And that's the classic imposter syndrome. But I think you have to own it and understand that, you know what, you're at day one of your experience. So you just got to go, I'm just going to do what I know now and I'll just suck up the experience as I go along. And, 5 years down the track, all of a sudden you've got all this knowledge and your bodywork skills are better. And do you know what I mean? And then you get to 10 years and it's like, oh my God, yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, I just think that maybe that the imposter syndrome, people get in their own heads about whether or not they're worthy of what they do, and they're absolutely worthy of what they do. And I think sometimes therapists just this is another bear bug of mine. Therapists just don't get enough treatment, and I think you forget the value of what you do until you get on a table yourself and receive it.
Mm.
David and I have talked about that a little bit through a few episodes. And last year, 2023, I actually made it quite a point for myself to go and get a whole ton of massage. And usually from 2 or 3 or 4 different people, different therapists. So not always the same person. But at one week, I think there was about 7 weeks in a row where I had a massage every week. And oh my God, it was fucking amazing. It was
Yeah.
just so good. I felt so good, didn't I, David? It was good.
And I was just going to say, and what's great about that experience, and good that you're getting treatment. That's one thing of tick, absolutely, and
Mm.
that's the thing, you'd be surprised. I always ask in my workshops, how many of you get regular work? And, it's rare. Some of them
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, I do,
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah, most of them don't. Like, it's nuts. It's like,
Mm.
fuck, why would you, like, you know, it ticks two boxes physically, because we know it works for us and it helps us, and definitely
Yep.
massage helps massage therapists. But the second one is that mental. It's just being on the table as opposed to above it.
Yep.
And you always learn from those experiences. You might go into the waiting room and go, it's bloody freezing in here. Do you know what I mean? So when I go back, I'm always going to make sure that my waiting room's not freezing, or the magazines are shit, or there's a smell of burnt cat, or I don't know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what burnt cat is, but dirty diapers or whatever. But you'll take something away from that experience. And I shouldn't say the negative things. Like, you'll go, wow, they did this and that was amazing. You know what I mean? Or they had something burning and it smelled great, or their towels were awesome, or
Yeah.
the table was bloody fantastic, or yeah, I don't, but you learn in every experience. I did that for the first 5 years. That's what I did. I went and got a massage off as many different people as I could once a week. I didn't go to the
Yeah.
same person. I went to someone different all the time, and I
Yeah.
learned so much.
It doesn't have to be negative, though, what you're learning. You can just
No.
walk in and see somebody's got blue towels instead of white ones and go, oh, that color sucks. Like, I
Yeah.
will never have colored towels. I really like white towels. Like,
Yeah.
it might be
Well,
something as simple as that.
well, here's something groundbreaking, Jackie. You could also just go there to enjoy the experience.
That's true. That's true.
I tell my clients all the time, the great thing, the great distinguishing between coming to see a massage therapist and a physio is you don't actually need a reason to be here. You can just come because you like it.
Yeah,
True.
that's so true, Dave. That's spot on. And when I get treatment too, the therapists I go and see, I'm the same. Like they, sometimes they get a bit itchy if they know who I am. They go, "Oh, all right, so we're going to do this." And I said, as soon as I walk in the door, I'm not a therapist. I said, you just do whatever you want
Yeah.
to do, the way you do it, and don't let me interfere or be. You just
Yeah.
use your magic, man. Just be yourself and just do it. I love it all. Just bring it, and that's all I care about at the end of the day. Because they think, oh, I'll have to, have to do this test and da da
Mhm.
da, and I don't want a treatment off myself. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? Like I'm come to you because I want your magic, man.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, you do it. Just do it for me. Yeah.
So, what's your self care like then? I mean, are you getting acupuncture, going to the physio, just enjoying your massage? What happens for you?
Well, soft tissue's right up there.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's good. Like I said to you before, it's good for me because I get massive benefits out of it because it's just an offloading all the time of the
Hmm.
areas that I load up the most. I go to the gym 4 times a week. That's probably the biggest and the most crucial part of why I'm still here because I did go through a burnout, and then after that, I was cycling. I ran myself into the ground, and I was like teetering on the edge of chronic fatigue. And yeah, I had a client who was a PT, and he literally grabbed me and built me up, and I implemented strength training, weight training into my regime, and that was 20 plus years ago, and I've never looked back, and I've never worked better in my life. And it's probably the main reason that I'm still able to do what I do with the workloads that I have today. Um, it's just the techniques I use, Jack. Like it's all about
Yep.
your techniques. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not, my clients move a fair bit on the table. So, I put them in positions that I know that are going to be really easy for me and my body
Yep.
and give me access to use the right tools, like, not using thumbs and fingers on glutes. And, I barely use my fingers and my thumbs unless I'm working necks or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So
Okay.
those larger muscles aren't being, um, worked on using these finer muscles and finer joints. So that they're probably the main three. And I don't get involved in people's shit either, Jack.
That's a good one.
I just validate them.
Yep.
I just let it wash over me and I validate them. They'll
Yep.
come in and they'll blah 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 blah, and I'll just
Yep.
go, yep, I understand. I'm sorry to hear that. Yep, blah blah blah. So I don't get drawn into the, do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
They're issues, which, obviously, which is another peril. You could probably do a podcast on that, which is
Mm.
really meaningful, to be honest. Is about not getting sucked into your client's negative energy, which is where mental fatigue comes in. And a lot of therapists, for whatever reasons, take on the role of, as a psychologist, and I did a podcast with Lyndall Abbott, who I worked with at London. She's a sports psych that I work with in London. And, we talk all about that. She goes, even as a psychologist, a lot of what I do is just validation.
Mm.
Sometimes people just want to tell their story, all they want to do. And that's the same with your friends. They come and they're going through marriage breakup or whatever. You just literally let them tell their story. Most people aren't looking for advice. They just want to tell their story and they just want it validated, and that's it.
Yep.
And that's process in itself.
Yep. We want to be heard.
We want to be heard,
Mm.
Jack.
Yep.
That's exactly right. I
Yep.
think that's
Yeah.
so, so important. And I mean, and I'm not just talking here as a therapist, I'm talking as a friend
Mm.
or even as a parent or whatever the case,
Yep.
like it's for some reason we think when people do bring their problems to us that they want us to give them advice or, God forbid, fix them. It's you
Yep.
take the notion of, I'm just going to validate what you say, and I'm going to hear it on, and I'm going to validate the fact that you're feeling the way that you are.
Mm.
And it's not insincere. It's just that's I can't really give them any advice on that. I mean, God forbid they were being assaulted or you know what I mean? But yeah,
Mm. We've said over and over again that the average life of a massage therapist is 5 to 7 years. They burn out, they break down, or they go bankrupt, or a combination of all of those things.
yeah,
And
spot on, Dave.
yeah, posture, poor technique, being a bank crash therapist, saying yes to everyone and anyone, not charging enough.
Yep.
Um, yeah, they're not
Tools of your
forming
trade.
community.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And investing in really good tools like good table, good
Mm,
oils, good all that sort of stuff is important, choosing the right modalities as well that can help your body as well, whether it be taping or needling or cupping or, all those sort of things help offload your body as well.
mm, yeah.
You'd be surprised if you tick those boxes, those alone, it makes your life as a therapist very, very differently.
So another question from a listener was,
I've got to
ha-
stop, Dave, because I just can keep going. That's all. All right.
how many light bulb moments have you had that sent you into another modality, and which was the most pivotal in your career?
Oh man, I've had stacks of light bulb moments. I mean, I used the light bulb analogy in my hip protocol because yeah, there was I think the big one for me was the research by Karen Lucas
Mm,
when I was at the Australian Sports Medicine Conference. In terms of a piece of information that really just blew me. And like she got up and presented, and I had to present after her. That was the shit thing. Because I was just in awe of what she was presenting, because she was literally saying trigger points can change muscle activation patterns, which was just, oh, what? And they could show it through research. And that changed everything for me. Well, when I say it changed, it was just a light bulb moment, and I went, "Wow, that is so cool." Because I've always known trigger points have a massive impact on function, especially when you're dealing with athletes. But to hear and see it in research and actually represented, because there's not a massive amount of massage research out there that's groundbreaking. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
Like it's just not, Effleurage does this and blah blah blah. But that was pretty amazing, to be honest. And I've been to conferences where, there's just been information that's just been groundbreaking in terms of treatment of tendons and stuff like that. And people have had like this is the paradigm we've been using for 10, 15 years. And the next thing you know, someone comes in, a histologist or a researcher, and says, well, as a matter of fact, this is what we see. And if we do this and this is what happens. And you're like, and they changed the whole framework of working with tendons. And you're like, shit, that is unbelievable. I mean, there's millions, there's not millions, there's lots of therapists that I've worked with, both at Olympics or in clinic, that have had a massive impact on me. And certainly chiropractors, osteos, physios, other softies as well, which I've learnt from. There'd be just too many that I would say, changed me. I think Rob Granter was a big part
Mm.
of my early career, because Rob was someone I looked up to, because he was, as far as I'm concerned, that was the road I wanted to go down to, because I loved his passion and where he's gone. And as far as I'm concerned, he's the godfather of sports soft tissue therapy for Australia for sure. And he won't mind me saying that, because I tell him all the friggin' time. But he's an absolute gem, and yeah, he's a beautiful man as well. And and so, yeah, I mean, there's lots to name, mate. There's lots to name. There's experiences, and then there's people, and then there's research. So, there's so much that I learned at the Olympics, so much that I've learned working with other practitioners. And then, obviously being at conferences and lectures and stuff like that, you just go, wow, shoot, yeah, that changes me.
And what about the future? What does your future hold?
Oh, I'm getting married in 2 weeks, Jackie.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking
That
important.
That's
is
so
that's pretty
exciting.
amazing.
You probably can't even think past that date. You're like, just so excited for
Oh,
this to happen and stuff everything else.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I
A
mean,
little
absolutely.
bit.
Well, yeah, it is. It's great. I've found a lovely lady and I'm head over heels in love with her and I can't wait to marry her. And I mean, we're already living together, so we've already started that
Yeah.
life. But I mean, work-wise, Jack, yeah, look, obviously I'm still in clinic 5 days a week. I actually have lightened my load. 2 of my days I've dropped off a little bit, which has been a welcome because I'm taking my own self-care advice. I'm just like, I'm not doing, 5 days a week of 15 clients a day. I'm just, that's
Yeah.
a massive workload. And I was able to sustain that. That's not a problem. But eventually, I think more than physically, mentally, it was hard to maintain that more than anything else. So I will say that, in the next year or two, I reckon my goal is to drop a day of clinic down. Probably concentrate a little bit more on the online stuff, which will be nice because I do enjoy that. That'll be a welcome break and just have some time to myself and do other bits and pieces. In terms of the future, yeah, I mean, it's just maintaining the Stuart Hinds Academy is a big part of that. Probably still go around and do lectures and conferences. BC, before COVID, I was just starting to do a lot of international lecturing. So, yeah, maybe pick that mantle up, obviously, because that the pause button got pressed on that.
Mm.
And maybe 5 years from now, I'll drop down to 2 days a week clinic. Yeah.
Mm.
That's the plan at this stage. Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself not massaging?
No, I don't, Dave. I don't.
Yep.
Seriously, I don't.
Yep.
Like, I seriously don't. I love it, mate. Even, and I mean, I know we all talk and fantasize about this. If we were to come into a win Tats Lotto, whatever, man, I'd still be massaging, man.
Mm.
But probably not to the capacity that I am now. But I can't imagine not doing it. It just defines me so much.
Mm.
Um, I'll probably give it up when I physically can't do it anymore. Do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
I just do. I love it. And you mentioned before, Dave, you fantasize about working somewhere, doing something different. Do you know what I mean? Like I do. I fantasize about going, fuck, I don't have to go and work at Bunnings, man. I reckon that'd be cool as. I can walk around and follow people. Go, are you after the glue, mate, or which adhesive are you after? I'm sure I could do that. I love being my own boss. I love being a slave to myself, and after 32 years, it's pretty hard to go back
Mm.
to work for someone as well. And I
I,
suppose because I've got such a passion for what I do, I will always. And that's the thing about lecturing and online stuff. I draw from the clinic. That's what I do, and that's what shits me about getting on a rant here, but about a lot of educators who are out there. A lot of them you will know
mm.
that don't treat clinically at all, or have
Hmm.
very, very, very little clinical experience.
Yes.
And you guys and the people that come to my lectures would actually have more clinical experience than them.
Something that I found confronting. I was at the Adelaide Massage and Myotherapy Conference in 2022, and to be in this environment full of massage therapists who loved so deeply what they do. And it's the difference between a good, competent therapist and a great therapist. And I like massage. I really enjoy it, but I can't say that it is the only thing that I ever want to do.
Well, Dave, you just got to find what floats your boat, mate. At the end of the day, I'm lucky enough that I found a job that I love, and that's great. But yeah, what is it? I don't know about the stats. You probably do, Dave, because you're a stat man. But I mean, these days, this generation coming through now, like how many different careers will they may have?
This is number 13 for me. Yes, and the longest position I've ever held.
Well done. Kudos to you.
Mm.
Then thank you, Massage, for keeping hold of
Correct.
David.
And not to put a negative light on that experience, massage is something that has served me very well. It's not just about me serving others and young family having the flexibility to work around their
Yeah.
needs and being present for them, not coming home absolutely smashed from the 9 to 5 grind of an office.
Mm.
Um, Massage has been wonderful to me from that aspect, and we've had holidays. Um, I know I bragged in an earlier episode about taking 7 weeks off this year, try doing that in a corporate environment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't feel guilty about not being in love with the industry either.
Yeah. No. And nor should you, mate. That's the thing. No one should be putting any judgment on you and making you feel that way as well. I remember talking to you when I was in that, when we did the dry needling. I remember you talking
Mm,
about how you were metamorphosizing and all that sort of stuff. And it was music to my ears because we talk about self-care, like the decisions that you were making and the things that you were putting in place were right up that alley. That's what you were doing.
mm,
You were making your career or your job work for you.
mm,
Because the difference is a lot of therapists work for massage. Do you know what I mean? So they don't trim it round the other way and actually make it work for them,
mm.
even though they've got the control to do it usually, unless they're working for an employer. And then obviously then there's a lot of perils there.
And I'll give my little piece of advice before we start to wrap things up as well. And part of the self-care and where burnout often comes is we see therapists who just don't know who they want to be, and I'll just keep doing courses, or I'm going to try and be like so and so because they're doing really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the best piece of advice I've ever been given, and it was really confronting to hear, was, "Have you tried being yourself?"
Well,
That's
my motto, mate, be
yeah.
awesome at what you do, not what I do. I mean, and that's, to be honest, that's the whole reason I started the platform. Do you know what I mean? Because I lectured at undergraduate and postgraduate, so I could already see where the gaps were. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
And I thought to myself, like, I can fill those gaps. I know I can. I mean, I know I can get in front of a camera and speak, and I'm lucky that I can, and I can explain things, and I've got enough experience to make a difference. And it wasn't like you have to do this way, my way. Do you know what I mean? It's always,
mm,
look, so this is what I do, and these are the results I get. So if you can incorporate some of these things into what you do, or a rationale around these lines in with the magic and the flavor of what you already do, then great. I'm helping you in that respect. And then the other thing was to create a community where therapists can come together safely and talk about whatever, and not be judged as well. And it's such,
mm,
because I was so lucky to be mentored my whole career. It was like, if there was the one thing, if someone was to say, what's one thing that would make a massive difference to you, when you first graduate, I say, get a mentor,
mm,
find a mentor,
mm,
find someone that resonates for you and gravitate to them and have them invest in you and you invest in them. That is like by far the number one. And because knowing what I went through as a young therapist, was like, man, if I had this back in my day, because we had like 4 texts and Rob Granner, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? And they were all pretty woeful, apart from Rob, until clinical sports medicine came out. But I was like, to have access to other therapists online, because let's face it, before online, you would close the door and you're in a room by yourself and you really didn't have much interaction with anyone. I want to fill that gap for therapists because I just feel like it's not there, and
That's exactly why we started the podcast. Like
there you
that.
go. There you
Yeah.
know. Now you
Yeah.
know, don't you?
Yeah. We would get, so many baby therapists saying to us, I've just graduated. What do I do now? Or like, who do I do this with, and who do I do
Jack,
that with? And it's like, oh, and it was constantly the same questions over and over again for like the last
absolutely.
5 years.
yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
and often being answered poorly.
yeah, yeah.
Often. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would, I can't tell you the amount of hours that I've spent um unofficially mentoring therapists who would ring me and say, Stu, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be on the phone to them for an hour or 2 hours, and some of them would be in tears and all sorts of situations, and I did that for years. And then, eventually I was telling a client of mine who was a business guy, and he was the one who said, mate, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean? I'm just trying to help therapists. He goes, mate, like, if you want to like he says, so if you really want to make an impact, he says, unfortunately, because I was worried, I was getting concerned because of the amount of time I was doing it voluntary
Mm,
wise. And then I started talking about he goes, well, why don't you build a platform? And, you have the educational side and then the mentoring and all that sort of stuff, and he says it, and you can, and the other thing is too, Jack, I was getting a lot of therapists that ring me who just were time wasters.
Oh yeah.
So you would invest in them and then nothing would come of it. It was just, yeah, they would just, yeah. And that was disappointing because you were investing your time and your effort into them and then, they just didn't. So, and that's sort of a bit how it started. But what you guys are getting is exactly what I would get to.
And it's very rewarding at the other end of that, is because we get a lot of feedback via social media and email and what have you from these new therapists that are like, oh my God, I cannot wait until the episode drops on Wednesday. You are a
Yeah,
lifesaver. I'm loving it. And it's
yeah.
so rewarding to hear that. So
Yeah, and I know when Dave reached out to me, he says, "Oh, can I put this on your Facebook?" I say, "Are you fucking kidding? Of course so, mate." Like you were dealing and talking about the things that therapists are dealing with every day. It's their everyday grind stuff. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So it's like friggin' towels and laundry and being booked out and this and all that sort of
yeah,
stuff. And I mean, all that stuff is just priceless because, to be honest, not many people else are talking about it. A lot of them are just talking bullshit base, to be honest. And that's why you're popular with those newbies because they are living and breathing that.
yeah, yeah.
And you will, I hope both of you don't underestimate the ability and the value that you do give to those people. I think you're starting to learn about that. Yeah. So what I was saying is I hope you understand the value of the podcast series that you do have for those people. And not even just the newbies. There'll be people out there who are 15, 20 years into it and they'll be resonating with it as well. They'll be going, yeah, absolutely.
Thank
I
you.
love it because you're by doing this, you're giving back to the industry.
I love this industry. I fell in love with massage, and like you, I don't think I could ever do anything else. Not now. Yeah.
I feel you, man. I feel you.
Oh,
Look, you think about it, it is pretty cool. You
yeah,
you get to help heal people with your hands. That's what it comes to, and
yeah,
it's pretty cool. My old anatomy lecturer referred me a colleague of his who he lectured with back in the day, and he was in his 80s. I don't know if you know this story. He came in and saw me, drove from Ballarat. He was in his 90s. He came in and saw me. He said, "Oh, Neil told me to come and see you." And he says, "I was a massage therapist for 60 years." And I was like, "Holy shit, wow." And I had heard of him. And he says, "Unfortunately, I can't massage anymore. Like I'm just too old and I don't have the strength and so forth." And anyway, he says, "So I've come down. I'm really excited to get some treatment off you, And I said, "Yeah, no, not a problem." And obviously, I worked on him, and he had the most wonderful tissue. I know this sounds really weird, but he just had one of those bodies that was just great to work with. Even
Mm.
at that age, it was
That
amazing.
deliciousness
The
of the
yeah,
tissue.
how some people you just go, "Fuck, this is awesome tissue," I
Yeah.
love it. And he got up after the treatment, and he grabbed me by the hands and he looked me in the eye and he goes, "Stu," I actually get teary when I hear it when I remember it. He just goes, "Don't underestimate the ability and the love that you have with your hands and the stories that your hands can tell." He says, "I can't tell you how much I miss it. Like it's a part of me." And he says, I'm really, really um sorry that I can't do it anymore." And he says, "It's such a wonderful profession that you get to touch and heal people." And he says, "There's nothing like it. There's just nothing else like it." And that resonated with me. Like I already, it's like I knew that, but to have it told from someone who had lived it and breathed it, yeah, put an exclamation mark. And he unfortunately died not long after that. But yeah, I was like, wow. Yeah,
that's amazing.
it was pretty overwhelming. Yeah.
We're going to start to close this episode off, and I just wanted to add, I've done a couple of training courses face to face with you, Stu,
Hmm.
and I've done a bunch of your online modules. And you know how sometimes you put someone on a pedestal and then you meet them and they're a jerk. Um,
Here we go.
you weren't like that. So to our
Here we go.
listeners out there, if you get the chance to train with Stu, you're going to meet someone who's knowledgeable, who wants you to know the secrets to being effective, is compassionate, but who's also a real genuine dag. And I look forward to hanging out with you more in person.
So thank you for those words. That's actually a big deal for me to say thank you, because I used to go into a hole when people would praise me. And the psych that I worked with at London says you need to get out of that shit. And I go, oh, I go into a box when people praise me. And I used to hate it when I do conferences and they, and then they introduce you and they say, oh, and he's done that. And I used to like, oh, I'm getting anxiety. I'm getting anxiety, because I'd hate hearing about myself.
Mm.
And then she goes, no, you have to thank people for that, So Lyndall, I'm thanking David for that. Thank you for those words, mate. That's very kind of you to say that.
Good job. It's not always easy to accept those positive achievements and criticism. So yeah, it's good. Well, we're very lucky. The other day, it was only this week that I got a message from one of the lovely folks at AMT. They've added us to their list of professional development resources, which
Good.
is, it's
Yeah,
so
great.
exciting.
Yeah.
We're going to close off the episode.
Well, we can find you online. You are everywhere. For those of you who are new to the Stuart Hinds world, you've got a couple of Facebook groups, one being, correct me if I get this wrong, the Results Driven Therapist, which is your free group.
Yep.
So everybody can access that.
Yep.
And then you've also got the Inner Circle membership.
I was just going to say we're about to move to a new website and platform, actually, which is something really, really exciting in the next sort of month or two. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Watch out for that. Yep. Really, really excited. Yep.
Within the Inner Circle, you'll find the training package for the self-care therapist as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's opportunities to meet you in person and not just online, on the line. Stuart's presenting workshops Australia-wide. He's presenting at the Massage and Myotherapy Australia Conference on the Gold Coast, or Tweed Heads, in May 2024. There is a retreat coming up in September 2024 being held in Bali.
Yes, in the lovely Sanua. At I think it's going to be the Intercontinental, actually. So we're just waiting.
I'm considering that. I only found out about that the other day, so I'm going to do some research and see if I can go.
Bloody good fun. It's the highlight of my year.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's like really awesome. Yeah. And then there's a big social component to it as well. We all go out at night and it's great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Stuart. It's been wonderful to have you as a guest, and we'll catch up another time with another episode. If you like what we are doing here on the Folding Towers podcast, why not hit subscribe and like? And if you are listening on a Spotify or Apple podcast, please leave us a rating or a review.
Thank you so much for joining us, Stuart. We have loved chatting with you. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you in the next one.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Hey, bye, everybody.
Remember, be awesome at what you do.